Mukabwanji. That's interesting. That's interesting. So Mukabwanji. I hope I'll remember that.
Or simply in Bemba we say Mwashibukeni.
Mwa- Come again.
We just say Mwashibukeni Mkwe.
Yeah, that's a lot to learn. Anyway, so yeah, we're gonna get started. So, Mr. Enoch, you can take it away. I think we have a number of people.
Good morning, everyone. Really great to have you. Thank you for joining in this morning. Okay, someone is raising their hands. Maybe before we start, okay. Okay, so today's session, this morning session, we're just going to introduce you to how you'll get started in this bootcamp. The tools you need to install, and how to set up your local development environment, and we'll get to deploy our first canister. It would be nice if you can follow up with me as I go through the stuff. But before, I just want to ask something. If a couple of days ago, I sent a message in Telegram on how to install the tools. Just would like to know how many of you had kind of installed the CTK already. We're going to go through this, but I just want to know if there is a few of you who had already installed. You can just indicate in the chat if you have. Installed. Okay. So it's fine. So the installation process can be quite, can take a bit, some time, some minutes. So it may not be possible to like do it in this call, but maybe after this session you'll get to it, and we'll send you some links afterwards, soon after this course, so that you can see and install the required tools. All right, so let me share my screen. All right, trust you can see my screen now. Okay, so the Internet Computer website is the number one resource, your go-to resource for most of the things we will be doing here. So Internet Computer, right? And again, just a walk through a bit. Some of you who are like, we haven't used this website, so just a few things. You can search some documentation here, whatever you want.
Yeah, hello, Enoch. Hello,
Yeah.
Enoch.
Yes.
Is it possible to install the tools on the phone?
On the phone, not really. On the phone.
No, You need a laptop for this. You need a PC,
Yeah,
a computer.
maybe you can try GitHub code spaces or what is it, Gitpod workspaces. But yeah, on the phone it will be quite a challenge. The laptop, yeah, laptop's just
Kindly share the tools that we can use on the phone, please, if there are any.
okay. Yeah, what I'm sharing here is basically everything you need to have. Okay. Yeah. So you see, and then you see if you can use that on the phone. So yeah, you can search what you want, and you can ask AI really anything that you want. It will direct you to some documentation for what you want. It will answer your questions, help you solve the problem you are having, and direct you to the right resources. So you can even ask, what is a canister? And it will tell you almost like what ChatGPT does. But here, this one is really based on the internet computer resources and documentation. So yeah, it's really a fantastic tool to use as you go through everything we will be doing here. And then now for the tools you will need to install, you come here on develop, then developer docs, right? And then yeah, you can see you can develop with multiple languages on the IC, Motoko, Rust, TypeScript, Python. But in this program, we will be focusing on Motoko. Okay, yeah. So on this documentation, you come to build and then installing tools. So here, if you are on Mac, it's a bit straightforward. Mac or Linux, it's a bit straightforward. What you just need to do is to copy this command and install the ICCTK. What this will do, it will allow you to simulate the internet computer locally on your machine, to have like a local replica per se of the internet computer. So you can build your canisters, deploy them locally, test them, everything, and then once you are satisfied, you then deploy it to the main net where to be live. Okay. So yeah, for Mac and Linux, you just come here and follow this this documentation, and again we'll share this with you soon after. And then for Windows, there's just one more extra step you need to go through, because this run on a Unix based system. So you need to have Windows subsystem for Linux when you're on Windows. So again, it's also easy and straightforward. You just need to install WSL first. Then once you have WSL installed, you can now go ahead and install the CDK. And once you have the CDK installed, you are good to go. And of course, you will need the latest version of Node.js as well. So before you start, make sure you have Node.js. And for the IDE, you can use whichever you want, but VS Code is the most recommended one. Sure, most of you are developers, you understand what VS Code is. Visual Studio Code. You just come here and install it on your machine. It's important to have VS Code because there's a Motoko language support extension you will need to use in your development. It will help you in debugging your code, etc. Okay, so yeah, just a recap. You need, if you're on Mac and Linux, you come to this documentation, you install the CDK. And if you're on Windows, you just need to have WSL first, and then you can install the CDK. And you have Node.js and VS Code. Yeah, that's it. And then yeah, later on I will introduce you to the Motoko playground. It will also help you in the development process as well and testing. So so let me try to create a project locally, assuming so that you can see how to go about this, assuming you have already installed the required tools. So let's create a new directory. Maybe let's call it what? New project. Okay. So maybe I'm already in this project. Let me open my terminal. All right. So once you have installed the ICCDK, try to make sure you have the latest one and check for the version with the command fx version. And currently the latest is this one, 0.17.0. And usually running the commands starting with fx, and then you do whatever you want. Okay. So say you have it installed, you have Node.js installed, you have everything, and you are set to start your development. To create your project, to create a project, what you do is type the command dfx new, and then the name of the project. You want to say new project. Maybe let's do the most common thing. Let's call it our Hello World project. Right. And then you select which language you want to create with, Motoko, Rust, TypeScript, or Kybra, or Python with Kybra. So we'll go with Motoko. And, so another thing, you can use these front-end frameworks if you want for front-end. You can use FieldKit, React, Vue, or simple vanilla JavaScript and HTML, or you can go without a front end. So in our case, for this first demonstration, we'll just go. Okay, let's go with React for now, so that I can show you the basic structure of a new Motoko project. So we'll go with React, and then it creates our Hello World project. It's just installing the dependencies. Give it Few seconds. All right, our project has been created. Hello world. Okay, so let's see the info of our project. Hello world. Then I'll open it in my VS Code. Right. So, just a second. Okay.
Okay, someone is asking if you can zoom.
Okay.
If you can zoom in, yeah, your VS
Okay.
Code.
How is it now? Is it feasible now?
Yes, that's good.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So this is the basic structure of a complete full stack app. Full stack, I mean, with the one with the back end and the front end all together, right? So yeah, we have our node modules for the front end dependencies, and here in source we have our hello world back end, right? Here we have main.mo, and here that's where we have our Motoko canister. This is where you will be doing all the logic for your canister, for the canister you want to create, right? Yeah, we'll get more into this and show you how to get started here and developing. You see the syntax is quite easy to understand and kind of straightforward. If you are Python developer, JavaScript developer, it's very easy to pick up on. Doesn't have a lot of new concepts. So yeah, you will see as we start developing that it's actually easy to work with. So we have the back end, and of course it won't be just a single file. As your application goes bigger, you start to have a few other files, a few other directories for certain stuff. But basically, this is the blueprint for how to start on it. Start with the actor. And so that's the back end. And then now we have the front end. So we selected React. So this is the basic. If you know React, sure you know what this is. This is the basic React project. So that's what we have here on the front end. And then we have the DFX JSON file. So this is one of the very important files for your project to run, right? Because when you deploy your project, the DFX CDK will look into this DFX JSON file. And from here, that's where it will know the number of canisters you have, the canisters you have. So we have the hello world backend canister, and you can see the main, it's pointing, this path is pointing to our backend canister, hello world and main.mo. And then we have our front end canister here. It's again, okay, it's have a dependence, hello world backend, and then here it's pointing to this directory here. So this file will be generated when you deploy the code. So if you are the compiled front-end code, if you are familiar with how the front-end usually works here, it's like the code is compiled and bundled together, right? So this is just where it's pointing to. And yeah, it's called, so this front-end canister is also called an assets canister, right? And then here we have this file. So on the internet computer, like for each canister you deploy, it have its unique canister ID, right? Which you can also use as a URL to that canister, right? You will see what this is. So yeah, this configuration here is just telling the CDK to where to put the canister IDs for our project canisters. It will be a .env file here. Yeah, so that's it. That's the DFX JSON. Then package JSON here, the README, and the TypeScript configuration file. Nothing else is complicated here. So now we have our project. Let's deploy it and let's see how it works. So to deploy your project or your canisters, you do the command dfx deploy, right? So if you just do dfx deploy, it will deploy everything inside here. It will deploy all your entire project, whatever has been configured inside the dfx JSON. And yeah, if you want to deploy a specific canister on its own, you just have to put the name of the canister. So let's say you want to deploy the hello world backend, you just have to say dfx deploy hello world backend, and that will deploy the backend canister only. All right. So for now, we just want to deploy everything at once. So we'll just do dfx. We just do dfx deploy. So it's deploying locally. Okay, so let me stop this for a second. There's an important step which I had skipped. Right. We'll get back to that. So once you have your project set up, right, for you to be able to deploy it locally, you need to start the local replica first, right? Like the local, your local instance of the IC, right? So you start it with the dfx start clean background. So this is telling it to start in the background, right? So that's what I had done, like I had started it before. So you need to start it first. If you don't start replica and just try to deploy, it will dfx top. But if you try to just deploy without starting the dfx, it will give you an error. Okay, mine is not for now, but it's fine. So first you have to run the TFX start clean background, and then you get your local replica started. And then once you do that, you are now able to actually deploy your project. So yeah, in my case, the local replica was already running, so I deployed the project. And here we can see now a few things that have happened. We now have this file called VFX. Sorry for the background noise. We now have this file called the .env file, right? And it has the canister IDs for our project. You can see the front end. There's the canister ID, and the back end, it is canister ID as well. Yeah. And that's what we have on these generated URLs. So we can actually open this front end URL. And yeah, this is our React front end for project. And I can type Enoch, click me, and to say hello world, hello Enoch. So as you can, let me show you. So this is what we have here in our React project. This is what we have here. The click me, greeting, end of submit, whatever. And it's actually communicating with the back end, with our back end, with our hello world back end here. So that's for the front end. And then for the back end, let's open this URL as well. And with this, it will get you to this candid UI, right? And here you'll be able to see the functions of your canister and play around with them and test them, whatever you have created in your canister. So I'll show you in a bit. We'll create some functions, and then you can actually see how you will be using this candid UI. So this is directly connected to your backend canister. So you use it for testing. So this is just what is being called here in the front end here. All right. So yeah, that's how you deploy. So now let's try to write a few functions in our backend canister. See how you will be going about it. So let's try to create like a small counter application. So let's create a stable variable. We'll get into detail in the coming lectures, like why we are using this word stable. But for now, just know that that's how we are defining this variable, stable variable counter, and let's initialize it to 0, right? And then, so of course, for the counter, we would like to get the value of the counter and see if our counter is working, right? So we'll create a public function. Public, this means that this function is accessible outside our canister, right? Like in modules and like in modules or in the candid UI, right? Like it's a public function. If it's a private, it can only be called inside our actor, inside our canister. So yeah, an important part to note, you have to, if you want your function to be public, just put the keyword public and then query function, query, and then function. So a few things here as well. So in canisters, in Motoko canisters, right? There are two types of function calls you make in your canister. Either it's an update function or a query function, right? An update function is the one that's that alters the state of your canister, that alters whatever you're storing in your canister or your database. Let's say it will be an update function, and that function takes a bit longer time to execute, like maybe 2 seconds or so, because it needs to go through consensus, right? I mean, we are building on the blockchain here, so if it's if you are altering some state of your canister, there will be some consensus that will need to go through in the nodes, right? So this only happens on update calls. So if you don't put the keyword query, your function will be an update. The function will be an update function by default. So which means it will go through consensus and it will be slower, a bit slower to execute as compared to a query function. But if you just want to retrieve information from your canister, you just want to query information from your canister, you must use the keyword query. And func is how you define the function, right? So public query function, and then what we want to get the counter, right? So get counter, and we really don't want to pass anything into our function, right? Yeah, so if we were to pass some kind of argument, this is how you would put the argument, then you define the argument type. Here we don't want to pass any arguments into our function. It will just be like this, and then it needs to be an asynchronous function. Okay, you need to be an asynchronous function, and then it will return a natural number. It will return a nat, and yeah, GPT suggestion was correct on this part. Yeah, so that's basically the structure of the function. First, you just need to specify if it's public or private, and then if it's a query function, you put the keyword query. If you're just retrieving data, so that your function will execute almost instantaneously. And then if it's a update function, you don't have to put the query word. And then here you pass in the parameter, and then here is the return type. Like, what are we expecting to get from our function? We want it to return something. If we don't want it to return anything, we can just do it like this, and our function won't return anything, right? But here we want to actually get something, and we want to get a natural number. So we'll put the return type, and then we return the counter. So that's for the get counter. And now let's create like the increment function. So public. So now this is going to alter the state of our canister. So we'll just say public func, and then we'll define our function here. We'll pass in an argument of what and not, right? And again, it's an asynchronous function. And then, yeah, here we are not really expecting to have anything returned when we call this function. So we just leave it like this. And then yeah, we now want to set counter to the new we now want to increase counter, right, with the passed in argument. So here we will do counter that's equal I'm sure this is like same thing in JavaScript, and I think even in Python as well. Yeah, that's basically how you increase your values here. And yeah, that's the increase function. Then let's see, let's do the decrease function. Yeah, ChatGPT. Yep, that's here. Okay. And then let's try to let's create another one, like to set a number or to reset the function. Public func reset. Yeah, reset is okay. We assign, right? Okay. So now let's see if we can test our canister, right? Yeah, so there's just one more function we might need to have as well, like just to set an initial number. Public function set. Yeah, cool. Here, like when we just wanted to set a certain initial number. All right, so now let's deploy our canister and test this out. So here we are not really worried about the front. We are not really worried about the front-end canister. What I will do is just deploy the backend canister alone. So tfx deploy load backend. Yeah, so I made some changes, right, to my canister here, and so it's letting me know that the code I'm uploading have got some changes that are not matching with what I had already. Should I want to proceed with this? So I'll say yes. So we update our canister. So now let's open our candidate UI. Right. Now you can see we now have our functions here. So let's say let's try to get counter. See, get counter executed almost instantaneously, right? Very fast. And we have 0 at the moment. Let's increase it by 10. Let's see. Right. Let's get counter. We now have 10. let's decrease it by 5. Yeah, let's get it, get 5. Yeah, so I don't know if you are noticing on update functions taking a bit of time. So let's try to add 7, with the 7, kind of waiting about a second or so. But on query function, it's like instantaneously, right? So yeah, it's an important thing to note as you build your function, because if you like make me ignore this and just ignore like the query word, so you see your function, your project will be unnecessarily slow on some things that doesn't even need to be slow, right? So yeah,
I think there's a hand up.
okay,
There's a question.
yeah, please go ahead and speak.
I don't know what's going on, but your presentation keeps going off and on. So it's momentarily it goes off, then comes back again. I don't know what's going on.
My sound is going off and on.
No, what you're presenting, so like this it's showing. Then after some time it will just like go off. The screen will be just blank for some seconds, yeah, like that.
Okay, I'm facing the same, Mr. Confidence.
No, I think it might be his network. I'm not sure. How about everyone else? Can you guys see the screen constantly?
Fine.
I'm sure it's his network problem.
Okay.
Yeah, so Mr. Bupe, can you check your network?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So yeah, that's it for local development. Yeah, and another important thing, as you get started setting up your VS Code and everything, there's an important extension you need to have, the Motoko extension here. Motoko language support extension, you need to have it, so it will help you in your code, as I had indicated before. So yeah, make sure you have that as well. It will help you.
Mr. Eno, there's another question.
Okay.
From Super Road.
Go ahead.
In the comments, he's asking about the random button. He's saying, where does it come from? Maybe you have to explain how this.
The random
UI.
button. Okay,
Yeah,
that's fine.
Explain the candid UI.
Okay,
It's easier to understand that.
Okay, so this random button, right? So let's say you have a function that you have like a number of inputs, a lot of parameters, right? With argument 1, the value. Okay, let's say we have argument 1 here, with argument 2, argument 2, whatever, right? And then in a real application, this will be like a lot of different types with a lot of different input fields, right? So if you are testing this and you just want to test like if it's working as it should, trying to type every other value can be unnecessarily time consuming. So this random value will basically just pick some random data that fits, that matches the type which the function is expecting, and then it just fills out for you. So let me do this. So let's say on increase, let me just say random. Yeah, you see, it just picked a random number, 59, right?
Yeah,
So,
I think also what he's trying to understand is you didn't write any code that had the random button, and yet you have an interface where
okay,
you have random button. So
okay, yeah.
I think that is what he's trying to understand. Like you didn't
Oh,
write that code, but then it
okay.
appeared on your screen.
So this is something that is automatically generated by the CTK, generated for you to help you test your applications. You really don't have to write any code for this, right? The CTK does that for you. It generates this for you for testing. You don't have to worry about it, and it's actually a very helpful tool. You can actually see all your functions. If you are live, you can actually log in and try to do some authenticated calls. So yeah, you don't have to worry about anything. Just as you deploy your project, you just need to deploy your project, and this will be automatically generated for you, right? And it will be matching all your functions, inputs, and everything. So what can I give an example? I don't know. There's this thing when you're like making when you are like testing your Django. I don't know if you have used the Django your Django REST APIs. Like there's an automatically generated interface for you for testing your endpoints, etc. That's basically the same thing here. So these are like our API endpoints, right? Test your API. So yeah, I think that might be clear. Yeah, thanks for the question. I'm sure others were asking the same as well. It's something you don't have to worry about. Okay.
He asked a
So
follow-up question and say, where do I
okay.
find the code? I don't know, Super Road, if you understand, or maybe we are not understanding your question. But this is what is called Candid UI. It's like an interface that makes you test the code that you are writing. So instead of you waiting for you to finish writing a whole application or a front end so that you can test if your functions are working correctly, the Candid UI makes you test it. And you don't have to test it also on what is it called on your development environment, like on your
The command
VS
line.
Code. Yes, you don't have to test on your command line. So it's just an interface that makes it was already made by internet computer. You don't need to write the code for it. It's there already. So once you just run your application and you start your application, the Candid UI will come up so that you can test your application. I don't know if that's enough for you to understand. You can let us know if there is any way you are confused.
Like
Yeah,
you can see.
I don't know if I can. Yeah, I fully understand. It's just that I saw the button, and for example, you've got a call function, you've got a query function, but there was no random function, and but the random buttons were there. So that's what I was asking. But it means that the code will be somewhere. So I was asking, where do you find that code to get a better knowledge of the language?
Okay. Yeah, so I think you will need to look into the CTK itself and try to dig deeper and really so you can really understand like the ins and outs. Come here, I see CDK, where is it? I'm sure it's this one. Yeah, if you really want to understand how it's working, built in Rust. Yeah, and then you can.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
You can dig deep and just explore, and understand how it's working. Yeah.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
Very cool. All right. So that's fine. Okay, and one last thing before we go, our time is running out. There's this playground, right? So let's say you really tried to set up your environment, you're having challenges, or you just want to do a quick test of your code and maybe share with someone so that they can help you debug your code. You can use this Motoko playground, right? It helps you create your, develop canisters, deploy them, and test them, right? But it's strictly for testing. It doesn't store any code, it doesn't remember your session, right? So if I write some code here and I close this tab, it will be gone. If I come back, it will ask me, if I come back, it will ask me again, look, I just refreshed, right? And now I'm already on the first page. So it's really mostly for testing. And also when you deploy code here, it will be on the mainnet, but it will be deployed only for 20 minutes because you didn't put cycles in the canister. We'll talk about cycles the next sessions. So this is an important tool to use mostly for testing, right? You have your code, and let's say you are running into a challenge and you want to share with someone, it's not running, you can come here and do share, save and share. And then you can see here, it gave me this link, and I can share with anyone this link, and they can help debug my code. And I can also deploy this project. I can deploy it, install, and let's see, it's deploying. Right. Then you have to click here on this arrow to get to the candid UI for the function. So yeah, this is the candid UI, and I can say whatever I want, right? It will tell me whatever, and I can do random. Okay, if I do random, I have to remove everything. I can do random, and it will generate some random stuff for the values. So yeah, another important tool to use, but make sure you just use it for testing. Don't store your code here. You have your code somewhere locally or somewhere else. So yeah, I think that's all for this session, guys. If you have a bit more questions, we'll cover a bit more in the evening session and introduce you to the homeworks you will be working on and how you can submit those homeworks. So for now, I think for the rest of the day, try to familiarize yourself with the Internet Computer website. Make sure you install the tools, the CDK on Windows, install Substance for Linux, and the CDK. And if you have any challenges, please feel free to reach out in the group, Telegram, or reach out privately and me or Confidence, and we'll be there to help you. So yeah, in the evening, we'll show you the homeworks, and you can introduce more concepts as well. So I don't know if there are more questions. I'll stop sharing my screen now.
Yeah, I think Super Road is a question. Is his hand up?
Okay. Unmute your mic. Go ahead and talk.
Hi, thanks for the session. You mentioned, you mentioned Node.js for the installation. I didn't see a reference on the docs on that.
Okay. You didn't see, they did index.
Well,
really, you mean on the docs?
No, the installation tools on the docs. There is no reference to Node.js, but you mentioned it when you were doing your session just now.
Okay, yeah, because like you will be running JavaScript, right? You will be running, let's say, your front end. You will definitely need Node.js, or you will run into a number of errors. I'm not so sure why they didn't. Yeah, Node.js is okay. It's not by default, but the latest requires, you see here, they are indicating Node.js on Windows. Here, where is it? Yeah, and then on, let's see again on, I'm sure there is on Mac and Windows. Here they didn't indicate it.
Oh, I see. It's default. It comes with version 2, so.
Oh, okay. It comes
built into. It's built into it.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So
okay. Yeah,
that's fine. If there are more questions.
Okay, there's a question from Regan on the chat box.
Really, if you're on Windows, you just need Windows subsystem for Linux and then the CDK. And then if you are on Mac and Linux, you just need the IC CDK. There, I'm just noticing that the latest one comes with Node.js installed, but if it gives you a problem, just make sure you have Node.js installed as well. So yeah, the CDK and VS Code and what else? Yeah, I think you'll be good to go. You'll be good.
Okay, I think there is no further questions, so we can meet in the evening. As we
Yeah, this
development. Also important to note, guys. You also take time to just watch some of the videos on YouTube, so you can get ahead and you can get a better understanding during the session, and so. But yeah, I hope this was very fruitful for you guys. Awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll send a link for the evening session, and then we'll meet you guys in the evening. Thank you very much. Have a great day. I will send it in the Telegram channel, Godfrey. We'll send the name of the